So when we continue the talk 2020 astrology, Robert Thibodeau, what's going on with the sun signs? If we look straight out from the chart for the solstice, Virgo's rising. So this is a year of a lot of criticism or perfectionism. A lot of criticism or perfectionism. A lot of healing, trying to heal others or feeling healed. And the moon in Scorpio is people trying to like solidify their feelings and their money in their home, in their food, so that it regenerates them. Food, money either regenerates or degenerates. This is going to be a year where if you don't handle your money correctly, it's going to make you sick. If you don't handle your food correctly, you're going to get sick. Your ego and your desires. Desire is the cause of all suffering. Fear is the shadow of desire. Scorpio, fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, are especially concerned over making the changes because Uranus opposes the moon. There's like a lot of upset. Some couples agree to disagree and they have buzzwords where they can stop the fight and take time before they argue again so they don't hurt each other and destroy each other's nice relationship. So the moon Uranus is money and sex have to be exciting. They have to, some people, sex has to make money. And other people, their genius has to make money. And so, but it's also like emotional, trying to get feelings that make you go to the higher level of your love and for your money. Did you have a question?
Does that insinuate an inheritance?
Yeah. Inheritances and also like upsets about it. Because fighting over it, the Uranus opposing the moon. But also the desire having a lot to do with strong females that have strong desires. Because moon in Scorpio, and it's in the house of money, but it's in Scorpio. See how they're turned around? Usually Scorpio's in the 8th house. So this could be a year for a change in our currency and money in the Federal Reserve Board and currencies around the world. And, we already know that Amazon is trying to make their own currency, and so is Facebook guy, and everybody's trying to get into the money game so that they control the paper that's not worth anything unless there's gold. So there's going to be huge arguments about this and upsets. And is China going to control the money that buys all the biggest goods of the world and the resources and that? This is going to be like wars over water too and resources. And so then the Saturn Pluto in Capricorn opposes like Cancer home. It concerns like the home and there's something funny about this because it's upside down. Because Capricorn, everybody wants to have control of their home or their belly or the people they live with or something like that, or they want to live with them. And the Sun Jupiter is a lot of happy communions and marriages and business deals. And the Saturn Pluto is it takes a little bit of time to realize if it's really good. So some people are finding the right relationships and it is prospering, and other people with the Saturn Pluto, although further away, are finding that, remember, Jupiter's going to come up and hit the Saturn Pluto. So a lot of things are being things are happening within us, spiritually and socially, an expansion of true nature of self, and a deep self is trying to enter into the world, and we're trying to bring the world into our home and our home into the world. We're trying to make the world our home. And so everything's kind of weird upside down, but it's maybe a healing process. When it comes to like, when I say upside down, usually Virgo's in the 6th house. Neptune is now there. So Neptune in Pisces, opposite of Virgo. So listen to this. If the 6th house is work and the 6th house is health and Neptune is there, it means that more and more people will get healed by the placebo effect or by spiritual healing or thinking or by magnetism versus electric. So you go in the emergency room, they turn on all the electricity. But in the future, they may be working more with magnetics. Now, on the negative side, they're working more with magnetics with controlling people's brains and putting strong magnets on their body, the CIA and all these crazy people. You read about stuff like that. And so the magnetics that run our space program rather than thruster rockets. So there's a thing that we can tune into something and have it drag us into there. They use magnetics a lot already, but we don't hardly know about it. And it's hard to find out. And so also Mercury squares Neptune. And And that is a really important thing, because Mercury and Sun at the bottom of your chart, we could say that who's having a tough time? Well, the people in the latter degrees of Capricorn and Libra and Aries. We're talking about people that were born mid-January, mid-April, mid-July, to the end. And then, what did I miss? Libra. So it'd be October, mid-October to the end. So people that were born then are getting clobbered by the Saturn, Pluto, or you have planets there. But we did earlier, we just say, what about the house? And we could say that the Sun, Jupiter, is that they're making new forms of houses somewhere that are going to get cheap and more people can buy them. But then we could also say Saturn, Pluto, for the big stuff, the plutocrat stuff, it's going to be harder and harder to get into the Rich Boys Club. We might be able to say that. I'm probably talking too fast at this point. And I should slow it down so that I can have a little more wisdom. And so we're also talking about the moon opposes Uranus, but Venus T-squares it. So Venus, this is a very promising thing. Venus is the midpoint between the opposition of Moon Uranus. So Venus squares Uranus and the moon. So this is people who were born late January, right? And the late April and late November. Any planets at those places, if your sun's there, or any planets you have, were especially Aquarius. Leo would make the T-square. If you're born in late July, you have this like grand cross thing going on. But the idea is that Venus is the pin that holds together that opposition. So in other words, we're going to see a new form of love. The love that is like got intelligence to it, because the air sign, intelligence. Air is intelligence. Earth is practical. Like Scorpio's emotions, and Uranus is practical, earthy, physical, hugs, home, things you own. Whereas Scorpio's passion of feelings are more important than the thing. So the things and the feelings are fighting a little bit, but Venus wants to bring it together with intelligence, and Leo's missing. So if you have a Leo would be that you could bring warmth into the cold love. So the idea of warmth and love and kindness, loving kindness. And so you have this Venus square Uranus moon is a complete shift of mores and values when it comes to money, marriage, children, home. I mean, this call that Marianne Williamson has for a Department for Peace, Politics of Love is her book, that's Venus. She may have a lot to say still, or other people like her that can speak of love. When was the last time that Trump said the word love? Okay, he must use it somewhere. So does he say he loves his wife? Does he love his kids? When does he use the word love? So on the other hand, love alone will be devastated. We need truth and intelligence to go with love, to protect love. And so that is a whole nother game that everybody's claiming they have the truth, but truth is what truth has to be true for all of us. Otherwise it falls into facts. So the truth is what holds us all, I think, a higher truth. We need higher truths. And we need them to apply themselves in very practical, incarnated situations. So the Mercury square Neptune is another difficult aspect. When you have like this idea of Venus square, T-square, like this red T-square with the missing Leo. But you also have Mercury square Neptune. And this Mercury square Neptune is very over-spiritual. Some people are too spiritual, they get lost in feeling imaginations that are very beautiful, but they're not practical exactly. Perhaps they're Nirmanic, perhaps they're Dharmakaya, Hinayana, personal liberation and salvation, but other people don't get it. But Mercury square Neptune can be very spiritual ideas and weird scientific stuff with magnetism and bubbles and water. But it can also be the pollution of the mind, lies and deception. With Sun, Jupiter, Mercury so far down at the chart, there's a sense of deep internal celebration of our connectedness and family with each other. And it's a deep sense of inner belonging and communicating, a new sense of communication, inner to inner. The Gemini midheaven is the impulse for just way too much knowledge and information and facts, and there's too many stations on YouTube and the internet. And so the Gemini is like a mad search that who's got the knowledge and what is real knowledge and who controls the knowledge. And and then you have this thing where what starts to take shape is a need for inner life. And so these are the major. We also have Mars. Mars is kind of trining the Neptune. So Mars trine Neptune is an impulse, a very idealistic impulse for the spiritual crusader, or the person, entrepreneurs and adventurers into space in a new way, or finding secrets of the earth that we've never discovered. They've been discovering new Egyptian coffins and tombs, but all around the world they're making discoveries. But unfortunately, what happens in the last 20 years or more, much more, is that rich people just buy these things up, and you hear about it for a minute. They discovered a big city under Atlantis. I remember seeing this 10 or 20 years ago, and it just completely disappeared. And when you try to find out, these rich people came and bought a lot, and they try to say, well, there's not really that much there. After they showed you these pictures of this huge thing they found under the ocean where the two pillars are off of Spain, the pillars of Gibraltar, where Plato said, is that right? Am I saying it right? Where Plato said Atlantis was there, and they found this huge miles of, they kept pictures of what they discovered, and then it's really hard to find out now, or they just give you the shell of it. I mean, Rudolf Steiner goes to a deep place where at one place I was reading recently, or rereading, where he talks about if we could look at ourselves like as everything that we know about ourselves is the shell, and that there's an inner kernel and a life to a seed that we can't even see, let alone free. So I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said that. I know he said it, but even if he didn't, he should have. No, but he did. He did say it. So the Mars trine Neptune is wild. It's in water signs. So we're going to see some pretty wild theater and drama. And of course, the last time that Jupiter-Saturn was around, and some of the Saturn-Pluto stuff too, but especially Jupiter-Saturn. The last time Jupiter-Saturn was in Aquarius, we had the troubadours. So I think the Mars-Neptune is the spiritual minstrel and the troubadours and the people who have a new news that leads us to a more holistic vision and feeling for the world, you know? We're trying to weave the head and the heart together. We don't want to have just the head or just the heart. Just the heart is really nice for, a weekend, a year. Sometimes it lasts for 10 years. And then all of a sudden it goes into Saturn, Pluto, and they want to kill each other or something. Or you drop all your bananas. So you drop everything. Drop everything now. So Saturn, Pluto can be, and also notice that Saturn, Pluto can be like where things come to a dead end. You can also notice how Mercury squares the Neptune, but also squares the descendant and the ascending sign. So that means that everybody wants to have a more intelligent view of what's going on, and they want an overview. So a lot of the things, like the things that I've been into, and the things that Marianne Williamson's into, this big overview, like whether it's Manly Hall or Steiner or Blavatsky, all these people are coming back in a new, exciting way with new people running the show. Like this place here, there's completely new people running the show in a different kind of way than they used to. And it's a novel way, and they're hoping to be, and the hope is that they're going to be better. Any parent wishes the kids will go further than them, if you're really a good parent. if you're a really good spiritual teacher, you want the students to go further than you. You don't want to hold them back and puppet yourself up all the time. But it's nothing wrong with going with whoever's going onward. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to like make something where we can do it more together. But also we're trying, it's a combination of doing things together or turning people on to things. So we have an invisible family and college and community that's actually visible to the inner nature and to love and heart and feeling and even to the touch. But we also need to know how to love ourselves enough so that we have more downtime. I mean, it's strangely in my life in the last couple of years, I've had more downtime. And I've been trying to, it's amazing how I was using it so well. And if I'm not careful, I'm looking at the news too much but I have devoted a lot of time to just pondering and reading and studying. And it's really been helpful to my sanity. And, but you have to make that time. I have to like purposely shut things down and hide with a guitar or a book. So I think that this Capricorn at the bottom of the chart is making our job ourselves. Capricorn is normally up here, so our job and our calling is out in the world. But when you have like Sagittarius at the bottom of the chart with all that Capricorn there, I think our new job and calling is our inner self. And this starts to really take shape now. People are really starting to get it. And I think that there's no place to go. We don't have really that many smart people, Look at all that I've done and so many people like me. We've poured our hearts into trying to make the world a better place. Is it better? Might be getting worse. So people like me have to question yourself. You have to go, it's not so much, I don't question much whether I have a big crowd or a small crowd because I've had really big, I'd have crowds where you went home and you had 100 phone calls, when you used to do a lot of radio and TV. So I'm not worried about that because sometimes I've been at talks where I've had 100 or 300 people or 70 people and only one or two got something out of it. It was all entertainment, or you pour out your jewels like these guys in these books, they pour out their best part that they have and nobody gets it. Or they get it 100 years from now. So now we're going back over this period of time since they built the cathedrals. So when you envision a multiplication and an addition to that, we're now building cathedrals in outer space and castles in the sand of Dubai with skiing and air conditioning in the sand. And we're building these weird, materialistic, shocking zombie Frankensteins of the ancient cathedrals. But a lot of us are inwardly creating cathedrals that are better than the Goetheanum and Chartres and Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame's a very sad thing. I mean, I was there a few times and made a sacred relationship to that space there, and to have it burned down. I have a picture of Notre Dame in my house, and I see it every day almost, and I look at it and I have these memories of the river and the sacred memories where I was writing poems alone in a little cafe across the street and singing songs against the walls of Chartres and Notre Dame, and even playing a strum and chanting Om there and hearing it come back, but just politely so people weren't disturbed. And it's gone, but it lives on in me. That's why people die, so that we can make sure people live on in us. Because if they didn't die, they may not live inside of us as well as they live outside. So I'm saying that the new job is, and especially for Capricorns and Sag and Aquarians and Scorpio too, is to divine the inner illumination, purification, illumination, and union as a 3-step to initiation. And so then we have like a little bit of a problem with Pisces and Virgo and Sag and Gemini with this new call to a new imagination, reimagining the world, reimagining ourselves, reimagining how love and passion, as Rilke talked about, that we have this idea of that passion can come in to ourselves. Like the Rudolf Steiner, the happiness of the individual is inseparably connected to the happiness of all, and that Rilke talks about like really what the Crusaders were about and what the troubadours were about, and even the people that fought the Crusaders, discovering America. It's like, what is the spiritual task that will bring about a new America based on that all human beings were created equally in potential, not materialistically. And how can we have that? How can we like experience the perishables, but in ourselves be wounded by the eternal, be wounded by the beatific vision, be wounded by greater love, that we're going to try to experiment with making the world a little bit better place, with this passion of, you can have the passion that you know you're going to die, you can have the passion that you're trying to save the honey, or make the honey, or be the honey for some honey. You can try that. But to have the passion for what could be and what lives in the spiritual realms within us and around us that haven't been actualized, they haven't been awoken with the song of the bird of the new dawn, of the angel of possibility and virtue that can awaken all beings around us just by our presence. We can do it by our presence. We don't have to be intelligent. We can do it by the intelligence of the stillness that's witnessing and watching. We can have a presence that, I've been in rooms with certain people that just their presence made people behave better. I mean, I work and strive toward that. But I have a bookstore because I think a lot of people lack vocabulary and intellect. Some people have too much intellect without a heart. We have a politics without heart sometimes. The questions that arise with Saturn Pluto is, what good is money when you watch certain people? Money can be really good. It's the mind that touches it that makes it dirty or clean. Same with sex. So when you see people who are filthy rich run into like destructive relationships with their kids, or like I'm thinking of some of these billionaires, or destructive relationships with that they can't see it through all the way. All of us have our problems with our kids and our lover, but we see it through and we try to make roses rise above the thorns. But there's a lot of people that get wiped out by these things and didn't leave a gift or a gemstone. So the Saturn Pluto is trying to live the gemstone, to leave the gift of a little thing, this little thing, put on your altar. I remember Gaelic Rinpoche giving me a little Buddha. He says, Robert, this is very much more important than you think. Put this on your altar. This is from me to you, And so some people are giving these little gems that you can have big ideas with and feelings. And other people, the Sun and Jupiter, have big, grandiose, big ideas. They're trying to build big things and they're going to include a social life. But the danger of Capricorn, though, is that you only create a social life that mirrors you or your ego, rather than mirrors the divine hierarchies of spiritual possibility and relationship with a greater context that would redeem the past and open a portal to the future that'd be good for all of us. And so you can see the fixed signs are going through changes in their passion and love and desire, fears, and they're trying to find love that will include other people and make people them and somebody else happy. The Aquarius wants to include another person, where we have space. The two lines have space. Pisces is kind of tied together, where you're bonded with your bunkie, or you're like, or you're working that well together that you're just bound. That's like kind of a Pisces thing. But Aquarius is working with another person where you're giving space, and so the Aquarian age is the electrical space of the Kundalini, the awakening of the Kundalini on a personal and greater level that can heal, and that goes in with Neptune too. And so then we see I think we talked about the cardinal signs as being a war between what makes them happy and what's killing them. The Libra, Aries, and the other two, Capricorn and Cancer. Yeah. So yeah, I did say that she kept telling me 15. So I guess I am heading for that 5 more minutes.
Take your time.
So we talked about the fixed signs of Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus and Leo. What they're going through is this idea of finding a higher love and making room for the invisible friend, the invisible that isn't. There are people that wanted to be here, but they're dead, or they couldn't make it. So we're making room for the invisible by praying for those who aren't born yet and dead and stuff like that. And so that there's a new form of love trying to engage our passion so that we can through the pain, we either have the pain of the suffering we see that makes us Michaelic and want to keep struggling for and striving for an ideal or something greater. But we also have the beatific vision that's more painful than pain, to see the beauty that lives here that nobody else sees, and they start to think you're a madman. And so you try to play piano, and you try to play violin like I'm doing, or you try to write a better song, and nothing's good enough because you see this beatific vision, And so that's kind of the fixed sign, and the leading sign of Capricorn and Libra and Aries and Cancer, these cardinal signs they have something that pains them and is killing them that they can't get rid of, or they have to serve, and they have to be humble and patient and become alchemists of transforming the negative to positive, and the midwife to birthing other people if they're not getting birth, like that, versus they're also trying to find those things better and a bigger orgasm, a bigger ecstasy, a bigger high, a bigger amount of money, a bigger house. They're going bigger and bigger while other people are getting smaller and smaller. And so there's a weird thing going on with those cardinal signs to justify and balance and harmonize the macrocosm with the microcosm at a spiritual level, and with the lower levels, money versus fun, control versus fun. We're going to have a lot of fun now, but I have to be at work tomorrow. It's like that kind of balancing act. And so then we talked about the mutable signs as playing into, are you living a lie? Is your spiritual self too big and it can't manifest? Are people lying to you? The ultimate lie is we lie to ourselves. And so we believe our lies. And the real lie is that. The real lie is that we're not being true to our higher self, which is inseparable from every self. The punk lies are we just lie, and for dumb reasons. And so how do we not have a fantasy? How do we avoid being lied to in fantasy? The way we do it is we are really honest about where we suffer or where we're addicted. Because Neptune is the legalizing of drugs, is part of the scheme of Neptune being on the progressed sun of the United States, which is leaving. So Trump came in with Neptune. There's so much to talk about. Trump came in with the United States having Neptune on the progressed sun. So there's a whole blur in America. Are we striving for a new space, new ocean, new discoveries under the earth? Or are we completely destroying the earth, and all the fishes are dying, the bees are dying, and the birds are huge amounts of things are dying, so that human beings will be left with their God? Then we'll find out if we have it or not. So the way to get over whether you're dreaming or have false illusions is to help people that are suffering more than you with your brilliant ideas. And so that makes, suffering is the easiest way to ground, but so is suffering in a sense of right suffering of Buddha, that we're trying to arouse compassion and a will to change. So that's all I have to say, other than one more quote by Rilke. Again, you can't talk about it enough. Steiner said the happiness of the individual is inseparably connected with the happiness of all. And Rilke the poet said, it is our task. I think we have a problem. All of us need a right job. It may not be our job, but the job is something that we work off our negativity, and we feel like we're exercising our physical and our emotional and our mental and our spiritual body. Our job can be spiritual too. We have to have a balance. If we're too materialistic, we need a bigger spiritual job. If we're too spiritual, we need a practice. There's a guy I know who's too spiritual. I told him, get a job at Whole Foods. Run all around and eat good food. So, but the Steiner guys, they talk about our task and our right work. Blavatsky said our right work, the right theosophy, the work of theosophy is to find an intelligence and spiritual teaching that will arrest the materialistic mind. The bad material. There's a good materialistic mind, but the one that's destroying the earth. And so here's Rilke, who says, it is our task to imprint this temporary perishable earth into ourselves. It is our task to imprint this terribly temporal, perishable earth into ourselves so deeply and so painfully and passionately that its essence can rise again invisibly inside us, not just me. We are the bees of the invisible. We wildly collect the honey of the visible to store it in the great golden hive of the invisible. Rilke, 1925. I was born when Rilke died. Now, that's a different talk, but I have a whole talk on famous people and your relationship to Rudolf Steiner or Blavatsky, if your conception 9 months earlier or your birth has anything to do with these kind of people and other people. Like, so like I know somebody that was born when Hitler was born. And so they're very opposite of Hitler, but then once in a while they become Hitler. So, okay. I love you. Thank you. Any questions? I wanted to say that. I think we talked about being constructive criticism, not destructive. Having higher knowledge that we share and see if it works. Trying to make our job our home and our deep interior self. And that real knowledge is to know thyself. Man means thinker. Thinker, know thyself, and thou shalt come to know the whole world. And that our new way of making money is to make higher intelligence come with our passion and love. And we take care of the little ones, whether the trees or those who know less than us and suffer more are really all our children. And those who know more than us and are more virtuous and wiser and smarter and more loving, they're our teachers, our father and mother. And those who join us in this task of theosophy and anthroposophy and the yoga mind, the spiritual work, the alchemists of the new world, they're our brothers and sisters. Goddess bless you.